I'm not talented. I've just made thousands and thousands of songs until I made one that feels magic.
Look, winners and losers have the exact same goal. So then how is it that someone with no experience, no connections, and no talent work themselves up to being one of the world's biggest DJs?
Success is never owned, it's rented, and the rent is due every day. And I can't go, like I was going hard when I was being paid no money and no one was listening to my music. I was taking stimulants to stay awake, to make more music, and then going to bed, getting hardly any sleep, doing it again on repeat, because I knew that I was going somewhere, and I can't put less work in than that. When people are paying me loads of money and coming to see me, I need to put that work in for the people who believe in me. I need to put that work in to show other people what's possible. So I've got no excuse to not go hard.
So then if winners and losers are working towards the exact same goal, the exact same thing, then what is it that makes someone win? Well, honestly, it all comes down to your systems. It's pretty simple. But the thing is, not every system is created equal. And honestly, I think James Hype, whether you like him or not, has laid out an incredible blueprint for DJs and producers who actually want to win. So it seems like everyone these days wants to be a DJ. And if your goal is to be like these guys and play EDC or Tomorrowland or any other big festival, you really need to understand that DJing alone isn't enough. But if you're watching this video, chances are you already know this. You see, a big part of James Hype's success doesn't just come from the fact that he was a good DJ. It comes from the fact that he was extremely relentless with both his production and his social media content.
I think one thing that I've had to learn and sort of relearn recently on social media is that I don't know what's good, which is something I've always known, but you catch yourself falling into this trap where you're like, oh yeah, I know that'll work. But yeah, you've just got to remember, I don't know what's good, and don't be afraid to put it out. And if it doesn't perform well, you learned something.
So then how do you find out what's good? You see, I feel like people treat social media like this thing where you throw a bunch of ideas at the wall until something sticks. But what if I told you you don't have to do this? And that these social media platforms are literally giving you the tools to grow an audience without you even noticing. So then in order to find your blueprint, you need to understand this concept. 80% of results come from 20% of your efforts. Keep this in mind. Okay, so now the key here is to use social media as a search engine. So let's say a specific song is trending. We're gonna go to TikTok here to search for that song and go through the top results. Now, the key here is to note the 20% of things in that song that you're seeing repeatedly throughout these top performing pieces of content. So, is it a specific section of the song that you're hearing over and over again? Is it a specific hook? Is there a specific clip in the music video that you're seeing over and over again in the content? I think you're starting to get where I'm going here. The point is, you need to note the 20% of that song that is driving the most engagement and note that down. Then, if you're inspired by specific artists or specific genres, let's say you're an Afro house DJ or a tech house DJ, now we're gonna use social media as a search engine yet again, but now for your niche. This time we're looking for songs in your niche in pieces of content that performed well. In order to determine a good performing video, we're gonna use shares and views as our metric. Okay, so now in this step, we're looking for two things. We're looking for styles of content, and we're looking for specific techniques in music production. We'll get into the music production one a little bit later. So first, we need to know the 20% of content styles that are driving the most engagement. So the more views, the more saves, the more shares, the better a post has in terms of engagement. Now, one of the things I love to do on Instagram on desktop, if you hover over that save to bookmark icon on the bottom right, you can actually create these, I call them content buckets, to where you only save the best performing posts for specific things. Now then we need to know the 20% of music production techniques you hear most often in the content that you now have saved that has proven good engagement, so that we can then note this down later. Here's what I mean. Is there a specific drum pattern you're hearing over again? Is there a specific style of lead synth? Is there a specific melody or hook or style of creating music that you're hearing over and over again? Note all of this down. Now, if you're able to schedule deliberate time researching these platforms every week, over time, you'll start to build up a blueprint of things that make a track go viral. So going back to our remix, we identified a 20% outlier in terms of visual content and a 20% outlier for production, the thing we heard most in our niche. And the result was a reach that was way better than if we were to post a generic check out my track type post. So now, you know what to make, you know how to present it, but why is it that despite knowing this, so many producers, even the really good ones, still struggle with making music that actually connects with people?
So I wasn't consciously trying to learn to make the sounds in my head. I was consciously trying to make music that I was happy with. And a large part of that process for me was copying other people's things. And I wouldn't recommend copying things and releasing them, but to copy things as part of your learning process, I think is quite useful. It wasn't like, oh, if I do 8 hours of work today, I'll learn how to reproduce the sounds in my head in 1 year. It was just, I want to make music so much that I'm going to do as much of it as I can. It's like you're throwing darts at the dartboard, and when you first start out, you've got to throw 100 darts to get one that's like slightly near the center. And as your skills increase, you're going to be throwing 30 and one's near the center, you know? So the learning to create what I heard in my head, that was like an exciting byproduct of me trying to make lots of music. And when it clicked, I mean, I still can't sometimes make what I hear in my head, but the percentage is so much higher.
Now for James Hype, there was two main things that helped him increase his production skills pretty quickly. And that's copying other people's music and doing it a lot.
When you start out, quantity is everything, because you're going through the process of learning the whole process of making the track, releasing the track, everything. The quantity is super important. If you were to spend 2 years making your first song and then put it out and you thought it was a masterpiece, chances are no one's going to hear it. So quantity is everything. And as you progress, you sort of build a reputation for yourself. But also, as you're doing the process, you are refining your own skills. So the quality is going to increase.
But now the beautiful thing here is that from our content research, we have a huge list of tracks that have proof of performing well, and all we need here is a system for learning how they made it. So now let's pick a song to recreate or copy here, and I like to use La AI, not sponsored, but if you have Logic Pro, or pretty much every DAW now has the ability to separate a track into its individual stems. So now we'll go into Logic Pro, or whatever DAW you use, and we'll add arrangement markers to copy the exact same structure. But a key here is to use the notepad feature. I'm not sure if every DAW has this, but I like using the notepad feature to write down individual techniques that were used in each section. So now, because you've already separated each element, you can now more easily match drum samples, synths, and you might even catch a couple of details that you might have missed before. And then if you've got a specific template that organizes all of your buses, effects, mastering chains, vocal chains, or even sounds that you find yourself using often, you can now 10x your workflow by taking a lot of the guesswork out of making music. And if you want to pick up one of the templates I use to make my own tracks, I'll leave it down below for free in the description.